All right, we just went through like a good large portion of the day with more testing of the Barber and potential things that are bugged out or don't work with it. So up until very recently, I couldn't find anything but waxing gibbous that wouldn't work with it. Things I've already tested that work just fine. We tested masochistic, which is the boon that gives you healing on lucky hit procs, works just fine. We have tested Stormclaws, works just fine. We have tested Paragon nodes. Lust for Carnage works just fine. No issues at all. We even tested Overcharged, which is the lucky hit lightning on lightning to do an overcharge, which will cause it to pulse damage every time you deal damage. It works, but weirdly, it can be procced during the Barber, but then it won't pulse until the end. I think what it's doing is just storing up all the damage into the Barber itself and then releasing that as additional damage. That's what I think is happening, but I think it's working. I do think that one's working. However, there's one that doesn't seem to work at all, and I'm pretty confident that it doesn't in fact work. And other people were claiming it didn't, and I just want to test it for myself. So I'm pretty confident now, after hundreds and hundreds of hits, that Earthen Might does not work with a Barber. So the way we tested this was, of course, I put on Earthen Might, and then we used Earth Spike because it's got a high lucky hit and a high degree of just like attack speed, and it's a generator, so you don't actually need to, you know, regen, and there's no things that you could possibly be doing extra to cause it. Like, there's no confounds. You're not going to use other skills. I use Bloodhowl to get my health back, which doesn't do any damage, so that's the only other skill I was using to do it. And so it's just Earth Spikes going off, the Earth skill with 35% lucky hit chance, and we were just taking one enemy out in the open world. We were killing all the ones around it, having one enemy and just whacking away at it, whacking away, and I couldn't get a single proc of Earthen Might when I had the Barber on. Not one. So again, if you're not familiar with the Barber, it's the one where when you do a critical hit, you will have a period of time where it absorbs damage and then explodes out. It absorbs all the damage you do. So you see immune hits every time you do it. It's not really immune, it's just taking the absorption. So far, nothing has not affected anything with Druid, but Earthen Might is the exception. As if it's in the immune stage, it does not seem to ever proc Earthen Might. And when I take off the Barber, it works just fine. It has no problem at all. If I hit a rare, I can proc it 3+ times on that single rare. I can just fairly consistently proc it with Earth Spike, because remember, for critting 2, we have a higher degree, so we actually have a pretty high chance of getting this to go off, because the extra 10% for crits and stun, immobilizer, knockback, which it really fits well, because this has a chance to stun as well. So Earth Spike stuns, we crit a lot, so it gets a pretty good chance to actually proc one of these on its own. And so we should be seeing it going off pretty reliably, pretty consistently. And with a Barber, it just completely shuts down. None at all. Many hundreds of hits. I didn't count exactly how many, but I was on it, enemies, for a while doing this. If I take off the Barber, it works just fine. So I am pretty confident that Earthen Might is the first thing that I have found in the Druid toolkit that is actually bugged with the Barber and does not work. So that's the one that we have to avoid. If you're going to use the Barber, do not use Earthen Might, and do not use Waxing Gibbous, which I don't think is bugged. I just think it's an overlooked interaction that just turns off Shred killing things and makes it the Barber killing things, and so therefore Gibbous doesn't work. This one I think is actually bugged. I don't think this is working properly at all. All right, that's it. If you're going to play with the Barber, do not use Earthen Might in your setup.